the most important work that this is probably the most important work that we do is to help US citizens vote from abroad, whether it's helping them register, whether it's sharing information, whether it's reaching out to the general community of American citizens in our countries. And besides that, answering questions, helping them with the process. It's not always easy to understand, right? And related to this, we'll talk a little bit more about later. We say, helping people know more about the issues. Just a few things for our people newer to Democrats abroad. U.S. citizens who live overseas can vote, and now it's 33, 33 states, not 32, because of federal law guarantees our right to vote. All right. Each state determines this on their own. So it does vary by state. This is the revised map. And thank you, Eric, for your keen eyes. Where can people vote in state and local elections? The states in green, the states in that pinkish beige color or salmon, depending on what your screen looks like, are a no. Florida, of course, is Florida. Depends on which county. We're working on New York. We, Democrats Abroad, is working on New York and Maryland now, and that's going to be a long-term thing. Another reason why our work is so important is that voting laws change. Since the 2020 election, there's been now it's about 500 bills in 49 of the 50 states put into restrict voting laws, and 30 states have made it more challenging. 20 states have made it more easier. We can talk about any of these things. The last thing, I think there's two last things I want to say. One is that another reason why it's so important that we register people is that because we are the margin of error. The 8 to 9 million Americans who live overseas can determine the outcomes of state, federal, local elections. So this is just some data we looked up last year, maybe more by now. In the last 50 years, 13 races were determined by 0.1%. In the last 40 years, 47 state and local state elections, not local, were determined by 0.1%. These margins are very small, and overseas voters can make a difference, as they did in the Senate elections, was it a year and a half ago now, in Georgia and Arizona. What I'd like to do now is, this is just trying to run through a little bit. What we also know is that our turnout is not that great and that it could be better. Although Japan is a little bit above average, it's still only like 8%. The other thing is, sorry, I didn't mean to stop and start the share. The other thing we know is what works, and this is from the Center for American Progress, what enhances voter turnout, and where we come into play is in that grassroots voter outreach efforts. The Democrats Abroad country committees, we can really come into play here. We don't necessarily have the power in these other areas, but this number 5 is key. This is important now, it's important midterm, it's also important long-term, that we're really active socially, physically, and not just in the presidential elections, but also midterms and state and local elections, because local elections matter. This is what determines those key issues: abortion rights, healthcare, taxes, police policy, marriage equality, marijuana for personal use. I just put this one up on Oklahoma marijuana legalization. These are the issues which matter to a lot of our members, which is why I chose these ones. So we are here today to really talk about upcoming races. There are a number of upcoming races. We are not working on all of these, but I did want to show that there are a lot of races coming up that if we mobilize our members, we can make a difference. And maybe with this, I would just say one more thing, and then then hand it over to Rebecca and Eric to explain a little bit about voter assistance and phone banking. DA has some priority races, there are links to where you can find all of these. We can share these later. These are the priority races are chosen basically because they're where we can have an impact and or where we've already incorporated them into our plans. Of course, there may be other races that come up in November we will be working on, but it's where we think we can make a difference. What I'd like to do is I'd like to pass it on to Rebecca to say a few words about our voter registration, our Get Out the Vote team and voter assistance, and then to Eric for maybe just a few minutes to explain a little bit about phone banking. How's that? So, Rebecca.
Hello. Okay, that looks terrible. Let me see if I can make that full screen. Can y'all see that? Looks better now? Okay.
Yep.
Great. So just like all of you here are veterans, so you know, our website, votefromabroad.org, is the main way that we get people registered to vote. So this is just like the basics of how to do it, which you all know. What we specifically do, I'm going to talk about in-person voter outreach, and then Eric's going to talk about phone banking. So the first thing is to make sure people know that they can vote. A lot of people in Japan, especially young people, I think, don't know that they can still vote while they're abroad. I've heard that from many students, like, oh, I didn't realize that I could vote while I was studying abroad or something like that. So getting out the word at events on social media, but I don't cover that, so that'll probably be later. So in terms of events, like we try to go to big events where we know there'll be a lot of Americans. Like, for example, tomorrow in Tokyo, there's a English as a foreign language teacher conference that we are going to have one volunteer have a table at. So at events like that, we go with our little cards, some flyers for votefromabroad.org, try to make it nonpartisan. This event has asked for nonpartisan. Schools have to be nonpartisan. So just emphasizing the vote from abroad rather than Democrats abroad. And just go to places where we know there'll be a lot of Americans and let them know that they can vote. And if possible, get them to register to vote on the spot. The website is it's so easy now. You can literally, in most states, like you don't have to print out anything. You can get registered to vote in like 5 minutes. It's great. So basically targeting big events, sending volunteers there and handing out cards, letting people know, and then helping them if necessary. And then once closer to the elections, then we start with voter assistance, which is helping them actually send in the ballots and make sure their vote gets in. Yeah. Anything else, Serdine? Or
I think that's good for now. I think in the breakout rooms, you can talk more about what people really need to know. How's that?
Yep. Okay, so turning it over to Eric for phone banking.
Okay, can you advance the slide? Oh, all right. Well, if there is no slide for me. Okay, so basically put in preparation for elections, thank you very much. Yeah, basically one of the easiest ways we have to reach out to people is through phone banking. Yes, there's social media, but a lot of people are on social media, and the actual human contact that makes a difference. Some people, want to deal with an actual human being instead of a mass-produced email. So this is an effective way to get out the vote. Now, these are people who are on the list. By and large, this is not cold calling. You're not calling people who don't wish to be called, right? So these are people who requested a reminder. People, people who work, people who have children in their own lives, very often they need a little reminder to request their ballots, right? And so this is to give them that reminder. And so in 2022, we made thousands of calls, thousands of texts. We had a big team of people globally working in almost every time zone. And over a period of many months, we made a couple thousand calls each day. And the really good thing about this is, number one, if you have some free time in the middle of the day, you can choose when is good for you, right? So it's not like this is something you have to adjust your schedule and bend over backwards for. You can choose the time that works best for you when you have time and energy. And this is something you can do from your home, right, in these pandemic times. We don't need to go out and do things. So you can do it in your underwear at home, right? As is convenient for you. So this is a really good way that if you have time and energy and you like talking to people, it's a pretty effective way of helping increase voter turnout. And we have some numbers showing that people coming to the Vote from Abroad website actually does jump up after starting large amounts of calling. So it does make a difference. It's a very cost-effective way, and this is where a lot of our donations go. And I think that's people can ask me specific questions in our breakout rooms.
Exactly. So thank you very much. Just after a few more things, I'd like to say that, and we will be going into breakout rooms. Rebecca will be in room 1, going through basic voter assistance and vote from abroad information. Eric will be in room 2, talking to people about, sorry, I did not mean to go ahead yet, talking to people about phone banking. And also, we are doing phone banking now for Wisconsin. So if anybody wants to jump on that, Eric can help you,
now's
address
a
your
good time to
questions.
start, actually.
Yeah, great. And then the third room, I think Dave and I will go into the third room. This is for people who like to do in-person outreach. Now, these pictures are all from Tokyo, but it doesn't have to be just in Tokyo. Maybe not everybody wants to stand in front of a major station, but we do have in Tokyo, and I'm sure you'll have something similar in Korea or in Osaka, Nagoya, events where you can go out and ask people to help out. Unfortunately, there aren't too many people from the Tokyo area here today. We are representing all of Japan. But really going in person, just doing a 2 or 3 hour shift, talking to people. Not only is it fun, a lot of these events are fun, but it's a great way to meet people, whether if you're at the St. Patrick's Parade, at Pride, which is not listed here yet, because that'll be in the April listing, or at the Anime Festival. It's fun, it's effective, and it's a great way to just get our face out there. And seeing as we haven't done that in the past 3 years that much, it's a great opportunity. You will be able to choose your rooms. All right, I'm going to open 3 rooms in just a moment. And let's make sure that somebody you have Rebecca in room 1, Eric in room 2, Dave in room 3 as your facilitator to keep us on focus. But then let's have other people in the room just try to take some notes and or take a few screenshots